You wake up one morning, run your fingers through your hair, and freeze. There's more hair in your hand than you remember. You check your pillow, strands everywhere. You look in the mirror and notice your part is wider than it was 6 months ago. Your heart sinks. You've been doing everything right, eating healthy, taking your vitamins every single day, trying to take care of yourself. But what if I told you that one of those vitamins sitting in your bathroom cabinet right now, the one you trust, the one you take religiously because you think it's helping you, is actually making your hair fall out faster? What if the very supplement you're swallowing every morning with your coffee is quietly sabotaging your follicles, thinning your hair strand by strand, and you had no idea? This isn't about genetics or age or stress. This is about something you're putting into your body that's working against you. And the scariest part? Most women have no clue. But here's the good news. Once you know which vitamin is the culprit, you can stop the damage today. Right now. And if you stay with me until the very end of this video, I'm going to reveal not just which vitamin is stealing your hair, but also the exact vitamins that can actually help you grow it back, thicker and stronger. Plus, I'll share a mistake almost everyone makes when taking supplements that doubles the hair loss, and you'll want to know that before tomorrow morning. So hit that like button right now, drop a comment below, and tell me your age so we can build a supportive community of women who actually understand what's happening to their hair. Let's get started. Before we dive into the vitamin that's secretly causing your hair to thin, let's talk about the ones that can actually help. Because here's the thing, your hair is incredibly smart. It knows when your body is missing something, and when you give it the right nutrients, it responds. US doctors see this all the time in their practices. Women who've struggled with thinning hair for years suddenly notice regrowth once they address specific nutritional gaps. But it has to be done right. Not all vitamins work the same way, and not all of them are necessary for everyone. So let's start with the 4 vitamins that genuinely support hair growth when your body actually needs them. Vitamin C is one of the most underrated nutrients when it comes to hair health. You probably think of it as something you take when you feel a cold coming on, but it does so much more than that. Vitamin C is essential for building collagen, and collagen is what wraps around your hair follicles to keep them strong and anchored in your scalp. Without enough collagen, your follicles become weak. They can't hold on to the hair strand the way they should. That's when shedding starts to increase, but that's not all. Vitamin C also helps your body absorb iron, and iron is one of the most common deficiencies among women, especially those who are still menstruating or who've had heavy periods. When your iron levels drop, your ferritin drops too. Ferritin is the stored form of iron in your body, and your hair follicles need it desperately. Low ferritin is one of the top reasons US doctors see hair thinning in younger women. Even if your hemoglobin looks fine on a blood test, your ferritin could still be too low to support healthy hair growth. Vitamin C helps pull more iron from the food you eat, which means more ferritin gets stored, which means your follicles get the fuel they need. On top of that, vitamin C protects your follicles from oxidative stress. Every day, your cells are under attack from free radicals, unstable molecules that damage tissue. Your hair follicles are no exception. Vitamin C acts like a shield, neutralizing those free radicals before they can weaken your follicles. You can get vitamin C from oranges, strawberries, bell peppers, broccoli, and kiwi. A simple morning smoothie with a handful of berries and some spinach can give you a solid dose. You don't need a supplement unless your doctor tells you that you're deficient. Most women get enough from food if they eat a variety of fruits and vegetables. But if you've been skipping those lately, that could be part of the problem. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. And trust me, you're going to want to hear what comes next because the second vitamin I'm about to mention is something most women don't even think about. Folate, also known as vitamin B9, is critical for your hair, and here's why. Hair follicles are some of the fastest dividing cells in your entire body. They're constantly growing, cycling, regenerating. That process requires DNA synthesis, and folate is a key player in that process. Without enough folate, your cells can't replicate properly. Growth slows down. Hair strands become thinner. The growth phase shortens. You start shedding more than you're regrowing, and over time, that leads to noticeable thinning. Folate deficiency is often seen in American women who don't eat enough leafy greens, legumes, or fortified grains. It's also more common in women who drink alcohol regularly because alcohol depletes folate. If you've ever noticed your hair thinning after a stressful period where you weren't eating well or were drinking more than usual, folate could be part of the reason. Folate also works closely with B12, and when one is low, the other often doesn't work as well. That's why doctors usually check both when they're investigating hair loss. You can find folate in spinach, lentils, chickpeas, asparagus, and fortified cereals. A simple lentil soup or a chickpea salad at lunch can give you a good amount. If you're trying to conceive or you're pregnant, your doctor has probably already told you to take folic acid, the synthetic form of folate. That's because it's essential for cell growth, and that includes the cells in your hair follicles. But even if you're not pregnant, making sure you're getting enough folate from food is a smart move for your hair. But folate isn't the only B vitamin your hair needs, and what's coming next might surprise you because this one affects your hormones too. Vitamin B6 is a quiet powerhouse. It doesn't get as much attention as biotin or B12, but it plays a huge role in hair health, especially for women dealing with hormonal fluctuations. B6 helps regulate hormones, particularly during your menstrual cycle. If you've ever noticed that your hair sheds more heavily right before your period, or if you've experienced increased hair loss during times of hormonal stress like postpartum or perimenopause, B6 might be low. It supports the production of hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells that carries oxygen to your tissues, including your scalp. Without enough oxygen, your follicles can't function properly. They go into a resting phase too early, and that means more hair falls out before it should. B6 also helps your body produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which regulate stress. And stress, as you probably know, is a major trigger for hair loss. When you're stressed, your body produces more cortisol, and high cortisol levels push hair follicles into a shedding phase called telogen effluvium. This is the kind of hair loss where you notice a lot of hair coming out all at once, a few months after a stressful event. B6 can help keep that stress response under control. You can find B6 in chicken, turkey, salmon, potatoes, bananas, and chickpeas. A baked sweet potato with some grilled chicken and a side of steamed broccoli gives you a solid dose of B6, along with other nutrients your hair needs. Most women get enough B6 from food, but if you're dealing with PMS-related shedding or you've been under a lot of stress, it might be worth checking your levels with your doctor. Now, here's where things take a turn, because the next vitamin I'm about to mention isn't one people usually associate with hair, but it plays a role that affects everything else. Vitamin K2 doesn't directly grow your hair, but it does something just as important. It helps your body use calcium properly. You've probably heard that calcium is good for your bones, and that's true. But when calcium isn't metabolized correctly, it can end up in places it shouldn't be, like your arteries. That's where K2 comes in. It activates proteins that shuttle calcium into your bones and teeth and keep it out of your soft tissues and blood vessels. Why does this matter for your hair? Because good circulation is everything. Your hair follicles rely on tiny blood vessels to deliver oxygen and nutrients. If those blood vessels are stiff or clogged, nutrient delivery slows down. Your follicles don't get what they need, and growth suffers. K2 supports vascular health, which means better blood flow, which means healthier follicles. It's an indirect benefit, but it's real. US doctors are starting to pay more attention to K2, especially in women over 40, because it also supports bone density and heart health. You can find K2 in fermented foods like natto, sauerkraut, and certain cheeses like Gouda and Brie. Egg yolks and grass-fed butter also contain small amounts. If you're not eating fermented foods regularly, you might not be getting much K2. Some people choose to take a supplement, especially if they're also taking vitamin D, because D and K2 work together. But again, talk to your doctor before adding anything new. So those are 4 vitamins that can genuinely help your hair when your body needs them. But now we need to talk about the other side. The vitamins that seem harmless, that you might even be taking right now, but that can quietly sabotage your hair growth if you're not careful. And what I'm about to share next is something that shocks most women when they first hear it. Let's start with high-dose niacin, also called vitamin B3. In normal amounts, niacin is fine. Your body needs it for energy production and healthy skin. But when you take large doses, especially the kind found in some heart health supplements or anti-cholesterol formulas, things can go wrong. High-dose niacin causes something called flushing. Your skin turns red, you feel hot, your heart rate might increase. That's because niacin dilates your blood vessels suddenly and dramatically. For some people, this also triggers inflammation throughout the body. And inflammation is terrible for hair follicles. Chronic inflammation pushes follicles into a resting phase and keeps them there. It disrupts the normal hair growth cycle. US doctors see this occasionally in patients who've been prescribed niacin for cholesterol management. They start noticing more hair shedding a few months after starting the medication. The dose matters. If you're taking a standard multivitamin with a small amount of niacin, you're probably fine. But if you're taking a standalone high-dose niacin supplement, especially without a doctor's guidance, it could be contributing to your hair loss. The fix here is simple. Don't take high-dose niacin unless your doctor specifically prescribed it and is monitoring you. If you are taking it and you've noticed increased shedding, talk to your doctor about adjusting the dose or switching to a different medication. Now, the next one might surprise you even more because this is a mineral that's often recommended for hair health, but too much of it backfires in a major way. Excess zinc is a perfect example of how more is not always better. Zinc is essential for hair growth. It supports protein synthesis, helps with cell division, and keeps your oil glands around the follicles working properly. A little zinc is good, but too much zinc creates a serious problem. It depletes copper. Copper is another trace mineral your body needs, and it plays a direct role in hair health. Copper helps form melanin, the pigment in your hair. It also helps build strong hair shafts and supports the structure of collagen and elastin in your scalp. When zinc levels get too high, copper absorption drops. Your body can't hold on to the copper it needs. And when copper gets too low, hair starts to thin. You might also notice premature graying or changes in hair texture. This is especially common in women who take high-dose zinc supplements for immune support or skin issues like acne. They don't realize they're creating a copper deficiency in the process. US doctors often see this in blood work. A woman comes in complaining of hair thinning, and her zinc is sky high while her copper is in the basement. The balance between these two minerals is delicate. If you're taking a zinc supplement, make sure it's not more than 15 to 30 milligrams per day unless your doctor told you otherwise. And if you've been taking zinc for months and your hair is thinning, ask your doctor to check your copper levels. You might need to cut back on the zinc or add a small amount of copper to rebalance things. You can get zinc from food sources like pumpkin seeds, chickpeas, cashews, and lean meat. That's usually a safer way to get it because it's harder to overdo it from food alone. But zinc isn't the only thing people overdo. The next mistake is one that flies completely under the radar, and it involves something that sounds totally harmless. Synthetic beta-carotene overload happens more often than you'd think. Beta-carotene is a precursor to vitamin A. Your body converts it into the active form of vitamin A as needed. In fruits and vegetables, beta-carotene is safe. Your body regulates the conversion, and you can't really overdose on it from food. But synthetic beta-carotene, the kind found in some cheap multivitamins and fortified foods, is a different story. In high amounts, it can build up in your system. And in some people, especially those with certain genetic variations, that excess beta-carotene converts into too much active vitamin A. We'll talk more about vitamin A in a moment, but here's the preview. Too much vitamin A is one of the leading vitamin-related causes of hair loss in women. So when you're taking a supplement that's loaded with synthetic beta-carotene, and you're also eating fortified cereals and protein bars that have added beta-carotene, and maybe you're also taking a separate vitamin A supplement, it all adds up. Your body gets flooded, and a few months later, you start shedding. Most women have no idea this is happening because beta-carotene sounds so innocent. Carrots, sweet potatoes, totally healthy, right? And they are when you eat them as food. But when you're getting megadoses from synthetic sources, it's a problem. The fix is to check your supplements. Look at the label. If your multivitamin has more than 3,000 IU of vitamin A, and a big chunk of that comes from beta-carotene, you might want to switch to one with lower amounts, or one that uses the active form of vitamin A in smaller, safer doses. And definitely don't stack multiple supplements that all contain beta-carotene. Now here's where things get even trickier, because the next problem isn't about one ingredient, it's about combination and overload. High-dose multivitamins with overlapping ingredients are everywhere, and they're a hidden danger. Here's what happens. You start taking a multivitamin because you want to cover your bases. Then you add a hair, skin, and nails supplement because you heard biotin is good for hair. Then maybe you add a prenatal vitamin because someone told you it makes your hair thicker. Or you start drinking fortified protein shakes. Before you know it, you're getting double, triple, even quadruple doses of certain vitamins and minerals. And some of those, like vitamin A, iodine, and selenium, can become toxic at high levels. Your body can only process so much. When you exceed the upper limit, things go wrong. With vitamin A, you get hair shedding. With iodine, you can trigger thyroid dysfunction, which also causes hair loss. With selenium, you can get something called selenosis, and one of the symptoms is hair thinning and brittle nails. The problem is that these symptoms don't show up right away. You might take these supplements for weeks or months before you notice the hair loss, and by then you don't connect the dots. You think it's stress or hormones or aging. You don't realize it's the supplements. US doctors are seeing this more and more, especially with the rise of wellness culture and supplement stacking. Women are trying to be healthy, but they're accidentally poisoning themselves in small doses. The fix is to take inventory. Sit down with all your supplements and write out how much of each vitamin and mineral you're getting per day. Add it all up. Then compare it to the recommended daily allowance and the upper tolerable limit. If you're consistently exceeding the upper limit for anything, especially vitamin A, iodine, or selenium, you need to cut back. Ideally, take just one high-quality multivitamin that meets your needs without going overboard. And if you're not sure what you need, ask your doctor to run a blood test so you're not guessing. But now we need to talk about the biggest culprit of all, and this one is going to hit close to home for a lot of women because it's marketed as the solution, not the problem. Unregulated hair gummies are everywhere. You see them on Instagram, TikTok, in the checkout aisle at the drugstore. They're colorful, they taste like candy, and they promise thicker, longer, shinier hair in just a few weeks. And millions of women are taking them every single day, not knowing that they could be making their hair loss worse. Here's the issue. Most of these gummies are loaded with biotin, often 5,000 to 10,000 micrograms per serving. That's way more than the 30 micrograms most people need daily. Biotin doesn't usually cause hair loss directly, but in high doses it can interfere with lab tests, including thyroid tests. If your thyroid levels look off because of biotin interference, your doctor might misdiagnose you or miss a real thyroid problem that is causing your hair to thin. But that's not even the worst part. These gummies are also packed with vitamin A, and as you're about to learn, too much vitamin A is the #1 vitamin-related cause of hair loss. On top of that, hair gummies are full of sugar. Each gummy has multiple grams of added sugar, and if you're taking 2 gummies a day like the label says, that's a significant sugar load. Sugar spikes your insulin. When insulin spikes repeatedly throughout the day, it leads to insulin resistance over time. And insulin resistance is directly linked to female pattern hair thinning. It disrupts your hormones, increases androgens like testosterone, and triggers inflammation. All of that damages your hair follicles. The worst part is that these gummies aren't regulated the way medications are. The FDA doesn't test them before they hit the shelves. Companies can put whatever they want on the label, and the actual content might not even match. Some independent tests have found that hair gummies contain much higher levels of certain vitamins than the label claims, or they contain contaminants. You have no way of knowing what you're really taking. US doctors are now advising women to avoid these gummies altogether unless there's a specific diagnosed deficiency that requires supplementation. If you've been taking hair gummies and your hair is still thinning or getting worse, stop taking them. Give your body a break. Focus on getting your nutrients from real food, and if you think you have a deficiency, get a blood test so you know for sure. Now, here's the moment you've been waiting for. The vitamin that's most likely making your hair fall out, and chances are you've been taking it thinking it would help. Vitamin A is essential for your body. It supports vision, immune function, skin health, and yes, even hair growth. But here's the catch. The difference between enough vitamin A and too much vitamin A is razor thin. And when you cross that line, your hair pays the price. Too much vitamin A is one of the most common supplement-related causes of hair loss in women, and it happens in 2 ways. First, chronic oversupplementation. This is when you take a multivitamin, a prenatal, a skin supplement, maybe some cod liver oil, and you don't realize that all of them contain vitamin A. The doses add up. Over weeks and months, vitamin A builds up in your liver because it's fat soluble. Your body stores it. It doesn't flush out like water soluble vitamins. Once your stores get too high, your body goes into a toxic state. One of the first signs is hair shedding. It usually starts 2 to 3 months after your vitamin A levels get too high, which is why most women don't connect the dots. They don't remember that they started a new supplement 3 months ago. They just notice that their hair is falling out more than usual, and they panic. Second, sudden high-dose exposure. This can happen if you take a very high-dose vitamin A supplement for acne, like prescription retinoids, or if you eat large amounts of liver regularly. Liver is extremely high in vitamin A. Just one serving can give you several times the daily recommended amount. If you're eating liver once or twice a week and also taking a supplement, that's a problem. The symptoms of vitamin A toxicity include hair thinning, dry skin, cracked lips, headaches, dizziness, and nausea. But hair loss is often the most noticeable and distressing symptom, especially for women. The hair doesn't fall out in clumps all at once. It's more like a steady increase in shedding. You notice more hair in the shower drain, on your pillow, on your clothes. Your ponytail